Oh, hello, guys. Welcome back to another awesome, riveting, life changing installment of Tea Time with Ayek. My name is Ayek, and honey, we don't always drink tea, but you can rest assured that we spill tea. And today I'm spilling the tea on misogyny and why it's problematic and how it even makes people quit their jobs. I don't know if you guys have been watching my vlogs over the past few weeks, but I mentioned that I'm doing some work with a client who's really awesome. Basically, he wants me to come in and help him with post-production and kind of bring in an aspect of what he's working on to life, right? So I came in, the videographer, who is going to be known as Whack because he's Whack. So we're going to refer to him as Whack throughout this video. Whack was already there doing things with my client. So my client basically said, hey, just get on board. The first week, I tried to observe him to kind of like understand the type of person he is, understand how he works. And one thing I noticed was that, he's fond of excuses, doesn't really recognize the notion of accountability. That week we spoke and he told me how he used to work for a very well-known Nollywood distribution company here in Nigeria. Well, actually they're worldwide now. And I was like, okay, cool. I guess you're establishing your credibility. Like, shout out to you, doing your thing. Congrats. So, guys, first example was last week, because I've really only been working with him extensively for about 2.5 weeks. So last week we did some filming with some people for the project that I was put on board to do or hired to do. The first cut or the first draft was terrible. It was extremely tacky. It was just not good enough. My client watched it and, he didn't want it to be like he's criticizing the guy. So he waited for me to watch it too. And I, made my edits and automatically Whack started getting super defensive, like right off the bat. So anyway, I come up with notes. I'm like, okay, change this, change that, change this, change that. He didn't look at my notes. And that's not even the issue, right? He made it extremely tacky. And then we were chatting and I'm like, hey, you didn't look at any of the notes. What's up with that? He's like, it's not about the notes. It's about the content. So I'm like, okay, so you intentionally did not follow my notes, right? No problem. No wahala. No issue. So I told my client, I said, hey, can you talk to this guy because he's just making the process difficult. If he had looked at the notes that you approved, we wouldn't be here. Now, while that's going on, he also lied, which is when I discovered that he's a pathological liar. But he lied about some things. He said that our client had seen the second draft of the video, his wife did, and they all said it was good. Now, I know what I'm telling you, you're probably thinking this may be a young guy, maybe someone who is 18 or 19. He's almost 30. Yeah, so he's not a child or he's not young. He's not coming into his own. He's, getting up there in age. He's nearly 30. So I asked our client, he said, I didn't see the second draft. So I was like, okay, well, don't think that I'm not going to, have that conversation. So I told him, you don't have to take things personally. I'm going to give you the edits based on what I believe that people want to see. So I noticed that he's a misogynist. We were having a discussion in the office, like a group discussion, and a lot of the comments he was making were extremely problematic. And he's one of those male rights activists. And the painful thing about every male rights activist is that it's reactionary. So it's in response to feminism or womanism. And most of the people who are male rights activists don't have basic common sense, like they lack reasoning skills. So I kind of observed that about him and I'm like, okay, he's just not a reasonable person. He's not sensible. So I kind of, drew back, kept it professional, kept it moving. But looking back, there was a few things that in addition to the problematic statements he was making, I don't want to say too many things on camera, but he said things like justifying child marriage and weird stuff like that. And not justifying child marriage in terms of the boy child, but in terms of the girl child. Both are extremely wrong, but yeah, anyway. So there's one time we had a meeting at my place and my neighbors were downstairs and of course I said hello and there was a pregnant lady. I hadn't seen her, but she was on the younger side, like our age, right? So she says good afternoon and I said good afternoon and I keep walking. So she said good afternoon to Whack. And then she said it again. And when she said it the second time, I had to turn back and be like, is he still here? Is he still with us? I look back and he's looking this way and walking up the stairs. I was like, okay, maybe he has a confidence issue. But now looking back, I understand why he's just a disrespectful person. I noticed, like, if I tell him, hey, we're meeting at this time to set up, he won't come, or he'll say, oh, I'm not coming. I can't come at that time. But if my client tells him, hey, we're meeting at this time, A said we should meet at this time, he'll say, okay, I'll be there. The first time I was like, okay, maybe he's just annoying, maybe he's just childish. But then it started like he would constantly do it. And at one point I realized that he was purposely not showing up at the call time that I gave. So I brought it to my client's attention, and my client, apologized, and he confronted WAC, and he said, listen, as far as post-production is concerned, as far as, content production and stuff is concerned, AIC is in charge. AIC needs to be involved. And he didn't like that. So my friends, this past week, things kind of took an interesting turn. So on Monday, we interviewed someone for one of the projects that we're working on. And, it was good. We talked about things. We had ideas and stuff like that. It was cool. And we agreed that, okay, we're going to do a second part and talk to more people who fit the description of the person we were interviewing, right? Cool. So then the next day, we have a meeting. And this is the challenge. Last week, Friday, we had a planning meeting, right? Just keep that in your head, right? We had a planning meeting last week, Friday, for what we were supposed to shoot on Tuesday, which was a lifestyle video. Guys, it gets good. It gets really good. So I text the guy. I'm like, hey, we're meeting at this time. Call him, text him, all of that. No response. Then he calls me and he's like, the problem is that we do not plan. You guys do not plan. You don't plan anything. You just go. You just say that you want to film something and you go. I said, okay. So we're now having, like kind of a conversation about it. And I'm like, didn't you attend the planning meeting on Friday? Now, as God would have it, because God is merciful, the guy WAC now mistakenly said, I sent a voice note to our client. Let's just call him client. I sent a voice note to client, and he told me to post in our group chat. And I said, why would I do something like that? So we had an idea. You intentionally did not want to put me in the loop so that I'll be looking stupid and be doing rubbish, trying to sabotage what I'm doing here. And I said, okay, no problem. Have a wonderful day. We're meeting at 12:30. He says, oh, I can't come. So we have the meeting, or whatever the case may be. Now, mind you, before WAC showed up, my client and I were talking, and I was just kind of telling him what happened that morning. So then my client now says, yeah, he has a problem with women in authority. He doesn't respect women in authority. And I was like, okay, you took the words right out of my mouth. So even my client observed it, right? We have the meeting. We all go our separate ways. We make plans for filming that week and the following week. Then my client sends me a message, a screenshot of the conversation he had with WAC, and WAC quit. He said, oh, I'm not getting money for this. I'm not getting this. I'm not getting that, blah, blah, blah. So I'm quitting. The day before we had an entire shoot day, which was today, Wednesday. You quit. So my client says to me, hey, talk to him and see what his issue is. So I call him and I said, okay, my client said that, I should talk to you, see what's going on. He's like, nothing's wrong. I just want to leave. So I did my field work. We found a videographer, blah, blah, blah. He removed himself from the group chat, all of that stuff. Cool. So as we were filming, my client was doing some behind the scenes on his WhatsApp status. And I think that really, really bothered him because he thought that by pulling out when he did, he thought that we were going to beg him. So he sees the post and then I guess he rekindles the conversation with my client. And he says, the truth is that I want to work with you. I just don't want to work with AIC. Now, this is the thing. I didn't really know what was going on. I kind of had that feeling, and even Jeremiah and I had spoken about it, and he's like, yeah, that's it. But then my client confirmed it because, once again, by mistake, this guy now mistakenly says that is the issue, that he can't work with me telling him what to do. So you just told the person that you want to work with that you're willing to sabotage his brand and everything because you don't want to work with a woman who he put in charge. Mind you, when we're having the back and forth on Monday, He was saying stuff like, I need to be in charge of the creative process. That's how the videos turn out better. Mind you, when he was in charge of the creative process, we still had to make so many changes and actually considered refilming the video that he had the creative ownership over. So you guys see what I'm saying about this whole, a lot of them think they're like superior or extremely talented, but most of them aren't. Guys, I'm always gonna call a spade a spade. So that's the story. Let's start there. That's the story. And I want you guys to understand that these are not stories from men in their 50s or 60s. These are stories from people in our age group. Mind you, if you're familiar with the eastern part of Nigeria, he's from a specific town where they are known to just have challenges. I'm not going to say the town, but it's in a state that starts with A. Okay, if you are very familiar with eastern Nigeria, then you know the place I'm talking about. There's some cultural norms that just make things challenging for their men. In terms of they're just not rational people and very misogynistic. I wish I could say that that's like not a common theme or not a frequent theme, but like in a lot of cases it is. There are some men who have the belief like, okay, I don't care who is in charge. Are you effective? Are you doing what you need to do? I will answer to you. But a lot of men, even in our age group, still have issues with that. Why do they have issues with that? Because of the rubbish they saw at home. Because of the things that they heard their father say and also heard their mother say. A lot of cases when you see or hear a man say things like, oh, I can't work for a woman. I can't let a woman do this. I can't let a woman do that. It's, yeah, their father, they probably learned by example, probably picked up one or two things, but it's most times their mom that perpetuate things like, you're a boy, you're a man, he's a man, he can't do that. He's a man, he can't do this. The youngest child, let's assume it's five female children, right? And the youngest child is a boy child. They will say, you're the man of the house, you're in charge of the house, you make the decisions, blah, blah, blah. So you internalize that and you now try to bring it into the real world where people have changed, people are exposed, people are now with that rubbish. You might have to go back to your village with that. So guys, that's what we're up against. We cannot pretend that we don't still have issues with these kinds of things. Someone quit his job, like let go of his livelihood because he has nothing else going on. No one's booking him because he's not at the top of his game. He quit his job. Now, really what he was trying to do, of course, was to like force my client's hand. If you guys have any stories of strange things like this happening or that have happened to you, please let me know. I was telling one of the people at the office this, and she was telling me a story about how when she was in college, there was this guy who was in charge of some organization. He was embezzling the funds. They gave him two options. They said, excuse me, sir, you either step down respectively or we're going to take you to court. And he said categorically, I'm not stepping down because if he were to step down, the person who would take his place is a woman. He said, I'm not going to step down and let a girl, he didn't even say woman, I'm not going to step down and let a girl take my spot. You people can take me to court. So that's what we're working with. You know what? It's midnight. Misogyny is trash. Misogyny is whack. And I'm going to wipe off this makeup and go to bed. And I'm going to be victorious. We are going to be victorious in Jesus' name. I know I owe you guys Vlogmas, but I'm sorry. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed, my beautiful people, what are you waiting for? I'll see you in my next one either way. Love you always. Mwah. Bye.